Yo, what is up, Snake Nation? It's your boy Naga Shrike. Sorry for taking so long for the video, but immediately after Atlanta, I was just exhausted, and all that week, I just kind of was a little bit lazy about it. And then, as you know, the weekend after that was the pre-release for Unleashed. Um, so I was gonna do it after that, but then that entire week I was just so sick. And you might be able to hear it a little bit now still, but my nose is still a little messed up. And then we had the NRG 5K just this weekend, a couple days ago. But now I'm forcing myself to do it. We're finally feeling like good enough. So first thing I wanted to go over was Atlanta. We did pretty good. Louisville, Kentucky area. Had a big squad, probably 10 to 12 people of us were going. So the cool part is our friend Hunter here barely bubbled at ninth. He actually got the best of Master E. So that was pretty huge. And then we also got over here Zyle. That's my friend Grant. He was part of my Airbnb group. Getting the best of Darius. So, you know, going in and walking out with two best ofs was pretty awesome. And we got a bunch of other people here that placed fairly high. Not gonna go through all that. As you see, I got 290. I could have went higher, but you see the record is 6-3. I just lost the first round of day 2, and I just dropped so I could play side events and stuff. But going through my pairings, just to talk about the matchups, my results could have been a little bit fraudulent. Full disclosure. So round 1, I got the fake buy because I didn't have a buy coming in, but my opponent didn't show up. Round 2, we also had the buy. I don't know how the stars aligned for that, but you know, over in the little section where I was, there's probably 5 or 6 other people that also just had an opponent not show up. So, you know, we're feeling pretty good. We're starting the day off 2-0 for free for no reason at all. Round 3, my first actual real game. We do take a loss here. I was very sad about it. So I was playing against Raven, very good player. We were talking about like other card games and stuff after, and he was like a traveling like top player for Dragon Ball Super, I believe. He played really well, and I feel like I did as well, honestly. In game 3, what it came down to was I had like a decent build up in my base, but not enough to push over what he had. He was on both battlefields. He was down to like, I want to say 4 cards in hand, and he was on 6 runes, so he was going up to exactly 8 on his next turn. On my turn, I unchecked power to wipe his Draven, which had 10 might, and then he had 2 Dariuses and 1 spinning axe on one of them. So he had a pretty nasty amount of might on the board. So I was able to uncheck power all that away. But then on his turn, he had exactly what he needed to win the game. The only way I lose that game is to double accelerate Rek'Sai. If it was like Rek'Sai plus Kaisa or Rek'Sai plus Darius, like he didn't have enough runes for that, because that would have cost 9, and he was going to exactly 8. So if it was anything besides double red Rek'Sai accelerated, I can get there. But that's unfortunate, and you know, that's part of card games, is variance. Stuff like that can happen. So I mean, I was a little bit miffed about that, but you know, what can you really do? You just gotta keep your head held high, and then we go into round 4 here. We play an Ezreal guy. He was also a pretty good player. But you know, Kaisa, Ezreal, it just I just did the thing, you know. Removal spells, just tempo him out. Round 5, we played against MF. Just kind of slapped him around, you know, the Aurora Kaisa classic. He did take one game off of me, but you know, it's the way it always goes. They do their thing, and then you side in gear hate. Round 6, played against Set. This guy made me play around all kinds of stuff. It was kind of crazy. I know the result says it's a 2-0, but I think I just played really well around everything during this game. He was also kind of playing pretty slow, which I'm not saying as like a detriment to the player, not being insulting. But since he played so slow, it also kind of made me slow down a little bit and really think about what he could have. So I remember like the final turn in the second game, I was able to play perfectly around Call the Glory, Punch First, and I don't remember what the other one was. But he ended up on like a Fey Dragon plus like Illusion and one other guy or something. But I was really proud of that one. Round 7 we beat a Rek'Sai. He never got the crazy like Call the Week Falling Star open against me. So I just kind of killed all those guys and went from there. Also, I like opened up with Immortal Phoenix in game 2, which was just insane. Then our last round of day 1, which would be our second loss on the day, was the Kaisa mirror. Pretty unfortunate. I felt like game 1 was pretty close, but then in game 2, like I just kind of fell apart. Like I misplayed. It was 100% my fault. Not saying I would have won the game, but I definitely do think the game was very winnable. But I screwed up quite a bit. There was a couple turns where I was on Emperor's Dais, and one turn I bounced my Watcher. Like I accelerated and bounced the Watcher, and I basically just time walked myself. Not really sure why I did that, but yeah, hindsight's 2020, am I right? And then we go into day 2. We play another Ezreal 2-0. Game 1, he beat me fair and square. Really solid player. He played around stuff very well. Game 2 was really funny. I never thought I would see the day. Never thought I would say this. Game 2 came down to both of us in a top deck war. Just straight up heart of the cards. And he ended up just beating me to it, essentially. I don't know how Ezreal and Kaisa of all decks going against each other are the ones in top deck mid. I didn't see any of my progress days. He didn't get any of his draw power. Again, card game experience. It is what it is. And honestly, at this point, I should have just kept playing at X3 because I still could have made invite. Like if we go down here, you see there's X3s all the way up to top 32, but then all the way down top 64. So I could have X3'd and gotten invite, so I should have played it out. That did mean I had to win out the next 4 rounds, however. But since I took the loss immediately, like round 1 of day 2, I decided to just drop and play side events. So we ended at 6-3, 290. Here was the deck that we ended up on. I played my like crazy cook at the pre-regional. I was damn, I should have been prepared for this. I don't have it prepared, so I'll just explain it badly. I was playing like a version with like long swords and ringars and just like more unit heavy, more tempo based, kind of like set 1. I was starting to doubt the deck because I felt like it was really good into Irelia, but it kind of sucked against everything else, like especially Draven, which was gaining popularity. So I was like doubting it. I was like, I don't know. But then I saw the Leal results, and there was a top 64 list that was almost identical to my deck. And I was like, wait, this guy top 64'd with something like, I thought I was crazy, dude. I thought I was the only one like going this direction with Kaisa. And then I saw that and I was like, well, that gives me confidence and hope, so I'll play it out. Uh, got shit on at the pre-regional, decided to pivot that night, switch back to a normal pilled, as we could say, Kaisa list. So yeah, we see classic 2-drop lineup, Poros, Watchfuls, we're playing Lecturing Yordle. My one of Cook was Sprite Mother. This card was absolutely insane, by the way. Ferris Forerunner, Thousand Tail, and you know, all the classic spells, Stupefy, Retreat, Ray, Falling Star, Singularity, one of Smokescreen, and one of Darius. I guess this was kind of like techie as well. People were starting to run Darius though. Get excited, you know, more removals, the one Rocket Barrage. Shakedown, which was starting to catch on. I guess one unchecked power is kind of like the weird thing. Sideboard over here, you know, just some more one-ofs. The Leal list was on 2 Phoenixes, but I decided 1 Phoenix, 1 Minnow, because they're kind of good against different things. And I was also on Zon Warrens, so I was like, why not play the Mundo for like mirrors? But yeah, that was the Kaisa deck I ended up on. Next, I wanted to talk about NRG. So this was, I think, a 40-man? 39. So I guess, like, somebody dropped or something. 39-player event. So this is me here, top 16 at 3-3. You know, again, not the craziest results. Take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, I was playing Vex. I started off 3-0 undefeated. And then I got the classic tournament curse. So going into round 4 undefeated, I get the peer down. And then, of course, I get paired down into one of my bad matchups. And then I lose, and then it's just all downhill from there. But still able to get top 16 because my breakers. And so we made money, surprisingly, with a 50% win rate. So let's go over the deck lists on Vex and what I've been playing, just if you guys are curious, interested in playing Vex. There is a couple cards that were different in here that I switched last minute. I just didn't feel like updating Piltover Archive. But the list is essentially going to be exactly the same. So Star Springs, the blind battlefield. Star Springs really good, because whether you're going first or second, it doesn't really hurt you that much. It can only benefit you. Like, your opponent can kind of use it. If you end up on the other battlefield and your opponent takes Star Spring, they can kind of use it to, like, pivot their units back to, like, gank over, essentially. Which is, like, the worst case scenario for you. But then, I mean, like, that's not bad. It's just one unit ganking over into your hold. So it is what it is. And then I think we can take big advantage of it, especially once you see more of the list. Star tips, best going first, hands down. The extra rune is immensely valuable. I don't think I would play anything else going first. And then our going second was... This has been a lot of different battlefields. I don't know what I want to play here. But... At the 5K, we weren't on Forbidding Waste. We were actually playing Abandoned Hall. I've been testing a lot of Paper Tree, but then I decided, after playing locals, I played against a Diana on an Abandoned Hall going first game, and I was able to play into that. So I was like, if I can play into that on their going first, maybe Abandoned Hall is just not so bad for me. So I'll just play that as my go second. Order FX, Chosen Champion, no explanation. This card's broken. Shuts off Ambush, shuts off Accelerate. It's got Deflect, like, pretty much everything you want. So I am on a stack deck version. I really, really value the card filtering here. This card's insane. I think it needs to go into every Vex deck. Double Charm. Charm feels okay. Like, the main use I've had out of Charm in this deck, honestly, is pushing people off battlefield to swing in with something in base just to get a quick conquer and catch up on point tempo. Charming a guy into your hold usually like isn't that great. As weird as that sounds to say. We're on 2 Defy. Defy's broken. Gotta play it. I'm just on 2 instead of 3 because I want more room for slots. 2 Existential Dread. Don't think I would play more than 2. The restriction of having to be an attacking unit makes this card not great, but it also at the same time, like, it's 1 in energy. It can also turn into a rebuke, so the card's kind of insane when it's insane. 3 Discipline. You have to play some form of pump spell in this deck, in my opinion. Discipline's just the easiest one. No power cost, draws a card. We play one of Emperor's Divide here in the main. I don't really see people play this card in Vex. I think it's mandatory. You'll see later on, I also have an extra copy on the side. Blue decks just play unchecked power. And like a lot of the popular Lilia lists online are playing 3 unchecked power main, and that just like destroys you. So I mean, like you have to play this as an out to that, because all kinds of people are going to be net decking, and just like unchecked power is going to be everywhere. And the cards that don't play it, or the decks that don't play it, they're going to be like sideboarding into 1 or 2 copies. So having Emperor's Divide so you don't just auto lose the game to any blue deck, I feel like is necessary. We got one of Evelyn. Evelyn's probably one of the least performing cards in the deck. I think I'm going to cut this so I can get more fans or something. Green Mutated Mauser. Kind of hate this card. I don't like it. It dies to Bell's Breath. That never came up, luckily. It's just one of those things where you kind of have to. I could see this being cut eventually at some point. We're playing Fan. Obviously, we all know Fan's crazy. Scuttle Crab. Scuttle Crab's actually insane, too. The fact that he draws a card as soon as he comes down, so he's like a Clockwork Keeper, where you don't have to recycle, is insane. 0 power, or I mean 0 might, also is like, whatever, because you kind of want this guy to die anyways. I've had several games where I'm going on to the final turn and I'm like holding to 7, and I have like a Tie Turner or like a Ride the Wind, and I can pivot back and like go to the other side. And you have a Scuttle Crab in base, so you just swing in, get perfect hand knowledge, see if they have like a punch first or anything, and you know exactly what to play around. So then you like Ride the Wind your Vile Maw or something like that. I don't know, whatever. But there's been several times where you just Sudoku this guy, and then you have the hand knowledge and you can just win the game from there. Or like, even if you're not necessarily trying to double conquer, just seeing what they're going to be swinging into you with. Then we play Tie Turner. Tie Turner's crazy, so you can pivot around the battlefields and yada yada. We're only on 1 Not So Fast, which is kind of weird, I guess, but you know, we just don't have a ton of slots. Because I'm playing all kinds of these like crazy one-ups. One of Ride the Wind. Ride the Wind's absolutely nuts if you're playing Vile Maw. Yeah, this card's crazy. And even if you're using this on like a little dork, it's good just to catch up that extra point if they ever leave the other side open. Like maybe they pull your unit off because they're trying to reconquer and trigger something like a Targon's Peak maybe. Rebuke. Rebuke's insane. Switcheroo. Also, if you notice, like we kind of have a lot of hidden cards in this deck. So these one-ofs in the hidden space give us a lot of extra value from the mind games. Switcheroo, insane with Crab, insane with all the 2-drops. It's just another card that they have to play around when swinging into you. And especially against green decks, like, maybe they're holding up Defy, they're confident they can beat the back off, and then you just, like, flip Switcheroo, and they just, like, crash and burn. Back off, obviously the best stun card in Vex. No power cost, draws a card, and you can hide it. Like, insane utility. I play one of Nami. Nami is a card that feels good when it's good, and then other times it can feel useless, so I just run it as one of. But the times whenever you get the hold with Nami and accelerate proc, it's actually like so crazy. If you ever like accelerate a Vile Maw with a buff and swing 9 might, like, oh my god, it's insane. This is the only main deck change that I had at the 5K. Instead of the 1 Shadow, I was playing the green Vex So the let me just pull it up real quick in case you guys are not familiar. So I was playing the green Vex. It's got a shield tank, and when you stun, you can move me to that battlefield. I just wanted an extra like way to protect Vex, and Shadow having the attacking restriction for the stun just felt kind of eh. And I'm also like, you can notice with like Ride the Wind and Emperor's Divide and stuff, I'm on a more like movement centric strategy, so I can pivot around if I have to. So Green Vex was just an additional way to like protect my other guys. Where I'm one of Fizz, flashing back anything in our one of toolbox suite, insane. One of Janna. Reasoning for Janna is it's a fighter flight, but you can't like defy or not so fast my Janna. Or well, you can not so fast it, but you can't defy it. Is the big thing. Also really good with Starcrossed. Starcross, bounce a Janna, bounce a guy. Starcross an insane card. Obviously we have synergy with Janna and Fizz here. Bouncing Crab can be good. Or bouncing like a hidden utility card like Evelyn Tideturner to redo that. Then the big spice, I guess, comes from playing Stellacorn in the main. Stellacorn felt really good, especially if you accelerate it with Nami. I think I'm cutting this though. I do think Stellacorn could have a place in the deck, and I think it's completely fine and acceptable. The only issue is there's certain cards I want to fit in, like Gust, and this just takes up too many slots, and there's not a lot of things that I want to cut. To a Vialma's insane, gets you out of so many situations. We talked about the Accelerate with Nami is crazy. Ride the Wind with Vialma is crazy. Play a unit on my turn on Starspring. Bounce back Vialma, go to the other side. Ride the Wind it. Emperor's Divide it back, and then swing the other side. Like, you just have so many ways to get Vialma and, like, gank over. Next for the sideboard, we're on an additional Emperor's Divide, just because, you know, the unchecked power thing. This not so fast. I actually swapped this for the 5k. I was playing Alley, the 3-drop. Geez, I'm so unprepared for this video, it's insane. So this is what I was playing in the sideboard over Not So Fast. Just a guy that gives everything to flex. It was in case I fought like a bunch of spell decks like Diana, Ezreal, Kaisa's, stuff like that. I didn't value the second Not So Fast as much because I already felt like I felt Not So Fast was pretty much there for Aurora or Elder Dragon, but I felt like we already had enough for that. So I was trying out something else. We have the second copy of Rebuke and the second copy of Starcrossed here in the board against decks where you need to like get rid of the big bodies. Just some extra utility there. Disarming Rake for Aurora, other gear decks. Windwall. This one might be a little contentious, I guess, but I felt like a lot of times in green decks you get into this counter war where it's like who has more defies, where it's like they have Not So Fast and then you have to defy the Not So Fast, and then they defy or you know, whatever. Windwall is just kind of like a catch-all, like say no for the most part in those decks, and I just wanted to like hard stop, be able to push something through. This also doubles as an additional copy of an out to unchecked power. So we have 2 Emperor's Divide and 1 Windwall for that. Then we also have Purple Vex. I actually sided this in a lot as my chosen champion, going second, against decks that played some spells, and even decks that you would think wouldn't be where you would bring it in, because they're not necessarily like a ton of spells, but they play like a fair amount. Like I played this going second against decks like Azir and Master Yi, for example, who make stuff like Defy or Hidden Blade cost more, and Vex can really tax on that. It's kind of insane. Also making your Windwall cost the same price as a Not So Fast with Purple Vex. It's kind of crazy. I'm almost like curious if making this your chosen champion going second is just the default. Like, thing you do in any matchup, regardless, because it felt kind of insane. Also, accelerating this with a buff with Nami feels really good too. Just have a 6 smite guy that makes everything more expensive, really hard for your opponent to deal with. I wish we had footage that I could put up right now. But at the 5K, I had a feature match against a Yi where I did this with Nami and it got a buff, and I had like 3 dudes holding it down or whatever, and I played in a way to like play around his pumps perfectly. And like full disclosure, I was just trying to play against Punch first. Like that was my play around. But he ended up playing Discipline on guard on his ring guard that turn, and it wasn't even enough to clear my hold. It just like full traded my hold over there, and I still had I had a tie turner over on the other side, so I had my hold anyway, and we just like took off from there. But yeah, that was my Vex deck that I went with. Still trying to figure out the go second battlefield, and other than that, some changes I want to make is like I think Stellacorn has to go, as sad as that is to say, and then just playing Gust. Gust feels mandatory because you could just turn your go second game into your go first game. So you go 2-drop pass, you're on 3 runes, you play 2-drop pass, they go conquer with their 2-drop, you gust it back to hand. Then they have to like redevelop to their base, and then on your turn, your 2-drop conquers and you play Vex. So it's just actually just kidding, I'm going first. And you know, Gus is just insane in the meta right now anyways, with all the LeBlanc and stuff like that running around. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this performed. Even though I went 3-3, which might not sound too great, it felt like most of the games, like I had game into the situation. There was just a couple of times where I drew really poorly or my opponent outplayed me, and those were the only times where it felt like really, really bad. But for the most part, like even when I was behind, like I just take a couple turns off and develop my units to base and just like bide my time until I could hold up like multiple interactions or like threaten a Vilemaw, even if I didn't necessarily have it. But yeah, that's my take on Vex so far. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.